How to identify a largemouth bass. Largemouth bass physical description. Average length is 45 centimeters and 17.72 inches. Range length is 30 to 90 centimeters and 11.81 to 38.19 inches. Average mass is 1.36 kilograms and 3 pounds. Range mass is 0.45 to 10.1 kilograms and 0.99 to 22.25 pounds. Largemouth bass have bodies that are both elongated and thick. They are the largest of the black basses, reaching a maximum recorded adult length of 97 centimeters and a maximum recorded adult weight of 10.1 kilograms. This species typically ranges from 30 to 40 centimeters in length and weigh on average 0.45 to 1.36 kilograms. Females tend to be larger than males. Males generally don't grayish color. They have a deep notch between their dorsal fins, along with a dark black exceed 40 centimeters long, but the females can reach up to 56 centimeters long. The color of largemouth bass is generally olive green, but some have been reported to be a stripe along their body. This bass has a large mouth that extends beyond the posterior edge of their eye, which is what tends to separate them from other species, such as the smallmouth bass, Micropterus dolomieu. They also have a clear separation between the first and second dorsal fins. The front fin has 9 to 11 spines while the back fin has up to 12 to 14 rays. The fry, at hatching, are about 4 to 6 millimeters long. Fertilized largemouth bass eggs are yellowish-orange in color. Largemouth bass fry hatch depending on the water temperature in the nest. They usually take 2 to 4 days at 18 to 23 degrees Celsius and 64.4 to 73.4 Fahrenheit, but can 1 to 3 days when temperatures are 27 to 29 degrees Celsius and 80.6 to 84.2 Fahrenheit. After the eggs hatch, the fry form a school and are protected by the male adult while they stay in the nest for 7 to 10 days. The fry then absorb their yolk sacs and can swim on their own. Both sexes grow indeterminately about 10 to 15 centimeters and 3.9 to 5.9 inches during their first year. The second year this species grows about 10 centimeters and 3.9 inches, and they continue to grow about 5 centimeters and 1.9 inches a year until they are 6 years of age. At this point the growth rate decreases but does not cease. Largemouth bass are polyandrous, which means one female mates with multiple males in a single breeding season. They reproduce once per year in January-March in the southern areas, and May-June in the northern parts. Males prepare the nest at the bottom with hard-packed sand, pea gravel, clay, or marl with a very thin layer of mud covering the material. Females wait in areas of deeper water for the nests to be finished. Once the water reaches 15 degrees Celsius and 59 degrees Fahrenheit, spawning can commence. Once the nest is completed, the male then seeks out for a female and brings her to the nest to drop her eggs. Once the two are near the nest together, the male tries to make her stay by swimming circles around the nest. He also encourages her to drop her eggs by bumping into her numerous times. Once the eggs are dropped, the male externally fertilizes them. Largemouth bass spawn in late winter in the southern parts of the U.S. and late spring in the northern parts when water temperatures reach around 30 degrees Celsius and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Largemouth bass typically spawn in late winter, January-February, in the southern parts of the U.S. and late spring, May-June, in the northern parts when water temperatures reach around 15 degrees Celsius and 59 degrees Fahrenheit. They spawn in water usually 0.6 to 2 meters and 1.9 feet deep where hard-packed sand and mud are found. Both males and females reach sexual maturity at 3 to 12 months of age, though 5 months is the average. Males and females mate until they are about 12 years old. One female can produce anywhere from 3,000 to 45,000 offspring at once, but the average is 4,000. The amount of eggs a female lays is positively influenced by her size. Females lay the eggs in the nest that the male has constructed for them, and he then externally releases his sperm to fertilize the eggs. Eggs hatch in 1 to 5 days, with those in warmer waters hatching more quickly. Largemouth bass fry reach independence in 7 to 10 days, but can take as long as 5 weeks. Not much is known on the birth mass of largemouth bass fry, but they average around 4 to 6 millimeters long at birth. Male largemouth bass prepare the nest for their fry. Once fertilized by the female, the male guards the nest, fanning the water to keep silt from building on top of the eggs. The fry then hatch and the males protect their hatchlings. The adult largemouth bass gets hungry about 4 or 5 days after the fry have hatched and try to eat as many as his own fry as possible. After about 7 to 10 days, the fry that survive are ready to swim on their own and depart from their father. The average wild lifespan of the largemouth bass is 16 years, with a reported range of 15 to 23 years. The average lifespan of the bass in captivity is 8 to 12 years. The maximum lifespan in captivity is unknown. Juvenile largemouth bass are a social group because they form schools with similarly sized fish. Adults are usually solitary and do not interact with each other. Individuals are motile but typically stay in a radius of less than 0.1 kilometers and 109 yards throughout life. They also have a swimming speed of up to 19 kilometers per hour and 11 miles an hour, but typically swim much slower at about 3 to 6 kilometers per hour and 1.8 to 3.6 miles an hour. Because the largemouth bass are ectotherms, their metabolic rate is higher in warm water. During the spring they migrate into the warmest available waters, about 15 to 18 degrees Celsius and 59 degrees Fahrenheit. During the winter they migrate into deeper water, typically 5 to 15 meters and 5 to 16 feet. During the day, bass may rest under lily pads or in the shade. During the evening, they become very active and move to shallow water 2.5 meters and 2.7 yards to feed. After they are done feeding, much like the afternoons, they return to deeper waters where they rest under logs. Males and females spawn during the spring when the water temperature reaches 15 degrees Celsius and 59 degrees Fahrenheit. The males prepare the nest, and when this is finished, the females come and lay their eggs. The male then externally fertilizes them and protects the nest until about 7 days after the fry have hatched. What do bass eat? Largemouth bass are carnivores. Adult bass are known to eat a wide variety of food, whereas the young ones tend to mainly eat zooplankton and aquatic insects. Adults eat crayfish such as the red swamp crayfish, Procambarus darkii, yazoo crayfish Orichinectes hartfieldi, belted crayfish Orichinectes harrisonii, and the painted crayfish Orichinectes difficilis. They also feed on sunfish such as bluegill, Lepomis macrochirus, and green sunfish, Lepomis cyanellus. Adults also eat microcrustaceans, frogs, and other largemouth bass. Adults feed all day with peaks in the early morning and late evening. They tend to eat less in the colder months when their metabolism slows down. They cease feeding when water temperatures drop below 5 degrees Celsius and 41 degrees Fahrenheit. They also stop eating while spawning. What are largemouth bass predators? Adult largemouth bass have few predators. Young largemouth bass are targeted by great blue herons Ardea herodias, northern pike Ezox lucius, walleye sander vitreus, muskellunge Ezox maskinangi, yellow perch Perca flavescens, channel catfish Ichthyolurus punctatus, northern water snake Nerodea cypton, black crappie Pomoxis nigromaculatus, common carp Cyprinus carpio, and the American eel Anguilla rostrata. Multiple species of kingfishers and bitterns feed on this bass, as well. Both the young and adult largemouths are targeted by the bald eagle Haliaeetus leucocephalus. The adult largemouth bass main predator is humans Homo sapiens. Bass hide and protect themselves by swimming close to logs and under lily pads. Due to their size and speed, they are able to escape possible predation. The geographic range on a largemouth bass. The largemouth bass, Micropterus samoides, is native to much of eastern North America. It has a broad range as far north as Quebec, Canada, and as far south as northern Mexico. It also ranges as far east as the Atlantic coast and as far west as Texas and North Dakota. This bass is also native to a few large drainages in North America, including the St. Lawrence Great Lakes, the Hudson Bay, the Mississippi River basins, the Atlantic drainages from North Carolina to Florida, and Gulf drainages from southern Florida to northern Mexico. This species has also been observed in an isolated area from western Montana northward to southern British Columbia. Outside of its native range, the largemouth bass has been introduced in Europe, Asia, Africa, and South America. Largemouth bass live mainly in lakes and rivers. The optimal habitat for this species includes slow-moving, quiet, clear waters with soft, shallow substrates. Dense vegetation is ideal for avoiding predation and being predators themselves. Although largemouth bass tend to stay in shallow water with a depth of 0.3 to 4 meters and 11.8 inches, they migrate during the winter to deeper water, 5 to 15 meters and 186.8 inches to 590.5 inches. In its non-native range, Europe, this fish has been reported to tolerate estuaries with salinities of up to 13 ppt. This concludes the video on how to identify a largemouth bass and some education on its ichthyology.